Okay, today I'm making a kind of German stewed red cabbage recipe. So I've got one red cabbage and I'm using 6 medium-sized sweet apples and I have 3 medium-sized onions. So the first thing to do is to slice your red cabbage. Next I'm going to slice the onions. Right, before I do the apples I'm going to start the onions and I'm going to give them a glug of oil. We don't want that too hot. Okay, for the apples I'll show you what I do with one of them and I'll do the same to all 6. Get rid of the stalk because it's getting in the way. Now I'm going to peel them because we don't want the skin. Okay. And those will just be chopped a little bit. The apples tend to disappear. They're no longer solid once the stewed cabbage is finished. So the onions have been cooking now for about 5 or 10 minutes. I'm just going to add the red cabbage now. It looks like the pan's over full, which it is, but as it stews it'll all reduce down and become much more compact. Okay, 5 minutes later. Let's have a look what's going on. Let's give it a quick stir. Okay, I'm now going to put the apples on top here. These are all 6 apples chopped up here now. There you go, look at that. This is all going to sink down. So I'm just going to let it stew there for about 10 or 20 minutes and then I'm going to come back and add some more ingredients. Okay, it's about 15 minutes later and it hasn't moved at all. Never mind. Okay, so we're going to just mess around with it a bit here. Look at that. Now I'm going to add some things. A bit of red wine, very important. Probably about a glass and a half, something like that. I'm going to try and add a little bit of sugar this time because sometimes it's a little bit on the sour side. I'm going to put a bit of sugar in there. As you can tell, I'm experimenting a little bit. But that's what cooking is about really, isn't it? Unless you're always going to be using an exact recipe. I'm going to try a little bit of salt this time as well because it sometimes is a little bit, just a little bit. So I'm going to see what this is like and then maybe adjust it next time. I'm also going to put in a little bit of vinegar. Now you have to be a bit careful with vinegar because that's the end of that bottle. I put in too much last time I made this. It wasn't bad, but it was just a little bit too much. I'm going to just, there we go, it's enough. About a tablespoon, something like that. Okay, now ground mixed spice. Caraway seed is good for this, but I don't have any at the moment, so the mixed spice sounds good. And also ground cloves. It's good to use solid cloves, real ones, you know, whole ones if you can. They tend to go quite soft, so you just eat them, it's fine, once they're stewed. So I'm just going to mix this a little bit, and then I'm going to leave it on a low heat for probably at least 40 minutes, an hour, you know, you can't really over stew this stuff. I mean, you know, not long, I wouldn't do it for longer than 2 hours perhaps, but it really wants to be a nice mushy stew. I shall leave that now and come back in about an hour's time to check on what's happening. Low heat, remember, nothing too hot, otherwise you're going to burn things. Okay, it's half an hour later. I'm going to just give this a bit of a stir and leave it for another half an hour. So it would have had at least an hour. Yeah, you see that's starting to break up now. The apple is still solid, but it'll be very soft by now. So when we come back in another half an hour, that should be almost ready. I'm going to freeze most of this, and when you come back to it later, when it's been frozen, it would have broken down a little bit more. But you should stew it initially for at least an hour, I would say. Preferably an hour and a half. Good. Okay, it's been cooking for about an hour and a half now. I'm just going to add a little bit more vinegar because it's a little bit, for my taste, needs a little bit more vinegar, but as I said, you know, you just try it. When it's been in the freezer for a while, and the taste, you know, may change again, so just keep on revising. So I'm just going to freeze the rest of the red cabbage. Put it into small plastic bags. Portion size, not too much, it's only a side dish. There we go. Squeeze out the air. Twiddle the top there to make it easy to tie a knot. There we go, ready for the freezer. And then we have all the packets of red cabbage ready for the freezer. When I take them out of the freezer, what I do is just get a pair of scissors and just snip the top of the bag there, and it's very easy to take it out. Okay,